Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Today, we once again go through, I think it's called manual, so a new translation of the Handbook. Handbook. I think, is it Enchiridion by Epictetus? I'm actually not quite sure, but I do have a feeling by Harold Cavely from the modernstoicism.com site. If you Google for it, you're probably going to find it. There's not going to be a link in the description or in the show notes. But it's going to take you a minute of fucking Googling. Yesterday we went through part 1 without the comment. Just a little tiny bit of the comment because it is highly... there are some explanations for certain translations, and this is not necessarily something... that I think is too important, so you can check that out yourself if you want to, and if you are not interested as well, you can skip it and listen to the podcast and or watch the YouTube video so that you have the text in front of you as well. Something that I've noticed, something that I've realized, I think it's been last week or something, was that my podcast, and especially the YouTube channel, it basically is a relatively big archive of book summaries and also other things that I went through throughout the years, because very often you cannot find them anymore on the web. So if you're searching for something, you can also pause the video and or pausing the podcast might not necessarily work, but pausing the video if you don't want to listen to me and screenshot or download the video so that you can go through the summary yourself, basically. Back in the days, things been a bit longer, so there are not as many episodes, but one is still able to kind of find everything and put everything together. And I kind of realized that, which let me realize that there is indeed some value in what I'm doing, besides the value. If you know what I mean. I don't know. The second chapter. Remember that the promise of desire is that you will get what you desire, and that the promise of aversion is that you will not fall into that which you have aversion to. And the one who does not get what she desires is unfortunate, while the other one who gets what she has aversion towards is miserable. So if you only have aversion to the things that are contrary to nature, which depends on you, you will not fall into anything which you have aversion towards. But if you have aversion towards disease or death or poverty, you will be miserable. Remove therefore your aversion from all that does not depend on us, and move it to the things that depend on us and that are contrary to nature. Give up desires completely for the time being. If you desire something that does not depend on us, you will necessarily end up unfortunate, both with regards to that and also with regards to the things that do depend on us, which it would be good to desire, but the things that are good to desire are not in any way available to you. Make only use of your impulses and repulsion, but do so slightly and with reserve and ease. That once again is an explanation of the translation. The third. Which of the things that leads us astray or is useful or which we care for, remember to say yourself what kind of thing it is and begin with the smallest things. If you love a jar, say to yourself, I love a jar. Then you will not be disturbed when it is broken. If you are kissing your child or wife, say that you are kissing a human being. Then you will not be disturbed when the child or wife dies. When I'm theoretically thinking about that, when I'm having that in mind, it really truly does make sense, Don't want to be like, this is utter bullshit, it's not gonna work. If you really believe in that, and if you're really able to pull it off, it can work rather well, and pretty good indeed. On the other hand, when it comes to people that you love, seeing them merely as a human being is definitely not going to be easy, and it might actually put you into a very certain space, into the certain space of maybe not caring too much about the person, because you're so in the mindset of, okay, it is just a human being. I think when it comes to people, this is not applicable, and I think it is also fine then to be unhappy and sad in certain ways, because this person is one of a kind. Well, of course, there is the chance of somebody being exactly kind of the same, but in terms of looks, I would say this is kind of the thing, not necessarily in like the way they behave, speak, I guess. I'm not quite sure. Also the language. I mean, there might be somebody that looks like your wife, but is speaking a different language and is from a completely different country. So it is not very applicable. Or is it applicable? Applicable? Well, I don't know. When it comes to things, to material goods, it is totally fine, and it is totally good to think in that way, because, well, how should I say? When it is a jar, of course, there might be some feelings towards that jar in terms of the memories that you've made with this object, or the memories that this object reminds you of. But in the end, it is what we did. We gave meaning to a certain object, and certain objects have value to us because we gave them this meaning. So I guess theoretically you could say, okay, I can give meaning to everything, and everything can remind me of something. And throughout the years I've noticed, and I think most people notice throughout the years, that material goods are not as important as they once were. And it's just a car, it's just a jar, it's just a computer, the data. It's not about the data, it's about the thing, When I have all my data, I can use whatever fucking computer I'd like to. The only valuable thing about it is the data on it. As it is with my phone, as it is with, I don't know, all the things that might have certain value to us. Chapter 4. Whenever you intend to commit yourself to some task, remind yourself about what kind of task it is. If you're going for a bath, then think about all the things that happen in a bath. The people who splash you with water, those who bump into you, those who are abusive, and those who steal. And by doing so, you will commit yourself more securely to the task if you straight away say that, I want to take a bath, but also to preserve my will in accordance with nature. Do the same for each task. If something hinders you from taking a bath, you will be ready to say, I do not just want to take a bath, but also to keep my will in accordance with nature. If I do not preserve it, then I'll be bothered by the events. I guess that there is something called negative visualization, which means visualizing the negative things that can happen to you. Period. So you are visualizing them to prepare yourself for this event coming. So you are preparing yourself for somebody stealing something from you. Well, at least, in this example that we're having because of the text, or with the text, and many other things, I'd say. There's many things that you could be prepared for, that you can prepare yourself for. Period. So keep that in mind, because of course, it's also like, when I'm doing something, there's always going to be consequences, and there's always going to be certain things that come with whatever I'm doing that I might like, I might not really like, and so on and so forth. But when I want to do this certain thing, it is inevitable. Those things that are coming with it, that are, let's say, attached to it, they are inevitably going to be there. And it is what it is. We can't change it. It's one of the things that we cannot change. Once again, from the last episode, categorizing things into things that we can control and things that we can't control. And this is something we cannot control. Of course, I can be prepared. I'm sorry. I can be prepared for those events happening. And this is the basic thing why I'm doing negative visualization, because I cannot change it. It is going to happen when it happens, but I can prepare myself for it. So I might have a backpack that is just always on my body, that is fucking waterproof and whatnot, so that nobody can steal anything from me. Or I just, might go to a spot where I know that there is not going to be a lot of people, so nobody's going to bump into me, and so on and so forth. But yeah, keep that in mind, think about that, and I'm going to see you the next time. So, bye-bye.